Hello, I'm Dr. Aarti Kandolkar. I'm a consultant psychologist and a counselor. Today, we are here to discuss on another important topic called mood and related disorders. In this particular topic, we are going to see if there is any kind of mood disorders. Okay, is that term available in DSM-5 or it is coming into another disorders? Okay, so we are going to discuss about all kind of mood disorders here, whether it is depressive disorders or bipolar disorders, and in depressive what are the kinds, and in bipolar what are the kinds of bipolar disorders. So now we will move on to the different possible moods a person can go through in a lifetime, whether he's suffering from mood disorders or not. Okay, they may not be very severe, okay, but they may be mild. Suppose there may be not depression or mania severely, but there can be little bit of sadness in a person or little bit of excitement, elevated mood sometime when he's happy. Okay, so we'll see different variations in this. The depression, as you know, little bit, we are going to discuss this in more detail, but let's understand depression is low mood, sort of a sadness wherein the person have lack of interest in multiple things where initially he was interested. Okay, or maybe sleeping too much or less, eating too much or less, or not interested basically. While if you see mania here, extreme is a form of an elevated mood. A person is little bit more happy or more in excitement than necessary. Okay, now if depression is so low and mania is so high, so what is normal? So normal is this, okay, euthymia. This is what we call a normal mood. In a day, generally people are on euthymic mood. Sometime when things doesn't go according to their wishes or desires, they may drift into not depression but maybe sadness. Okay, sadness. And when the things goes as per their things or more than expected what they wanted, they go into excitement. So both this is possible. Okay, now euthymic mood, as you know, is a normal baseline mood. Okay, and there is another two modes which exist between depression and normal mood, that is dysthymia. It is a mild form of depression. Okay, a person can stay here anywhere between some days to years. Okay, so this is low grade depression. And there is one more mood here which exists between euthymia, normal mood to mania, that we call hypomania. It is elevated mood but not extreme, doesn't have to be hospitalized. Okay, in mania a person need to be hospitalized, while in hypomania a person may be like on a mood to constantly on the move or take like hasty decisions, being very impulsive, constantly talk. So this hypomania is a low grade mania. Just like it is low grade depression, there is a low grade mania also exists which we call hypomania. So this is about different possible moods that are there. Okay, next we'll move on to the next slide and see an introduction to mood disorders or mood and related disorders. Basically, if you want to know whether mood disorders exist in actual DSM-5, though, there is no term called mood disorders. Okay, earlier in DSM-4TR, okay, it was there called mood disorders, and all the mood disorders were existing there. Now it has been moved into two categories, that is depressive disorders and bipolar and related disorders. These are the two categories we'll see. So let's understand what is this. Okay, mood and related disorders that we put forth. So mood related disorders, I have termed this as mood and related because I'm going to cover depressive disorders and both bipolar disorders. Okay, first we'll see what is this mood disorder that I have used. So this is a middle point from bipolar related disorders and depressive disorders. Okay, so there is nothing called mood disorders in new DSM-5, as I already said. Okay, but just for understanding about mood disorder, I have put this term. Mood disorder are the are at the center of two groups of disorders, that is bipolar disorders and depressive disorders. Okay, so in between these two, people with depressive disorders suffers only from depression, a pattern of often called unipolar depression. So what we call depression, okay, or depressive episode or depressive disorder is also called unipolar depression. Why? Because it is on the one pole. If you say north pole and south pole, okay, so this is like on the one pole. Suppose this north pole we call as mania, and the down we can call is depression. So the mood exists somewhere down there. Okay, so this is called unipolar depression. In contrast, bipolar disorders, okay, experience period of mania that alternate with periods of depression. So in bipolar disorder, as the sum bi means two, okay, so bipolar depression, there has to be two things. Now what is this two things? Mania and depression. Okay, in depression there is only mania, in depression there is only depressive mood. That is why it is called unipolar, only one pole. There will be no mania or hypomania. While in bipolar disorders, there will exist both mania as well as depression. Okay, I hope this is clear. Let's move on to the next slide. Okay. Now I have categorized the entire mood and related disorders into two, okay, which we are going to cover. So let's see. First is bipolar and related disorders. In this, okay, which means cycling between mania and depression, or you can also call this manic depression. Okay, so there are three: bipolar, bipolar 2, so bipolar 1, bipolar 2 and cyclothymic disorder. These are three which comes into bipolar and related disorders. This is there in DSM-5 as it is. And the second is depressive disorders. Here comes two types, okay, major depressive disorder and dysthymia disorder. Now what is major depressive disorder? It's a clinical depression, or you can say unipolar depression, while in dysthymia disorder, it's a mild form of major depressive episode or depression. Major depressive episode means also in depression. Okay, so this is what. Now when I use the term major depressive disorder, so this is a disorder. Okay, while if you say major depressive episode is one episode of depression, and you have multiple episodes of depression, that is we call major depressive disorder. Just like in anxiety disorder, we have discussed about panic attack. Panic attack is one or two attacks that person gets, but if he has the fear of getting another attack and has multiple attacks, panic attacks, then it is called panic attack disorder. Okay, similarly here. So we are going to discuss this in detail. Okay, we'll be beginning with bipolar and related disorders first, and later on, after covering all these three, we'll be moving on to the depressive disorders. Okay. So let's understand this. Okay. Now DSM-5, they have separated that into two individual chapters, which is just a revision: bipolar 1, bipolar 2, cyclothymic disorders. Depressive disorders into major depressive disorder and persistent depressive disorder, that is called dysthymia. Okay, these are technical terms. Please be with us. Remember this term so it will be easier. Okay. So basically, if you try to understand, we will be covering two chapters from DSM-5 here. Okay, under the heading mood disorder or mood and related disorders. So let's begin with the first part, okay, that is, or it is also an individual chapter, bipolar and related disorders, which again has three: bipolar 1 disorder, bipolar 2 disorder and cyclothymic disorder.